Hey there, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here from Supersize Your Business. Today we're talking about the top 10 humorous hooks to supersize and grow your business. But before we do that, let's talk about humor and communication and why it's so effective. We're focusing on communication this month, right along with all of the folks in the Be a Better You annual challenge. They're doing one thing every day to be a better version of themselves. And we are doing one thing every day to make our businesses better, to help supersize and grow them. This whole month's focus is on communication, and today's topic is humor. So, why do we want to use humor in order to break the ice? I'm gonna share 10 hooks, 10 different most popular ways to use humor, but it builds instant rapport is one of the reasons we want to use humor. I'm gonna share 5 reasons. The second one is it breaks tension. Have you ever been involved in a tense situation at work or in a serious meeting and somebody cracks a joke or farts in the meeting? And all of a sudden, everyone's laughing and the tension is dispersed and we can get on with the business of the meeting at hand or the subject at hand. It increases memorability. People remember funny stories and jokes and funny things. People remember humorous things. People remember things that make them feel a certain way. Actually, people remember things that make them feel anything or any way, especially in business. So often we're just so serious and we're going through our lives in a deadpan way that humor is a huge break in the norm, therefore it's memorable. It also helps to enhance relatability. People that can laugh at themselves and laugh at situations are much more relatable than people that think they have to be perfect all the time or are super serious all the time and have all these expectations, etc. They're easily disappointed. I guess I used to be that person. Sometimes I still am. It also encourages openness and authenticity and vulnerability, all things that make us better human beings, all things that help us to be better leaders, all things that help us to grow and build and supersize our business. So what are these 10 ways that we can use humor to grow and build and hook people into paying attention to what it is that we have to say? Well, first and foremost, the unexpected twist. Now, I think of this as plot twists, or you were watching a movie, a great movie, and you expect it to end a certain way. It's playing out, you've watched the hero's journey, and you're like, oh, it's going to be this ending. And then all of a sudden, it's a twist and it's a totally different ending, but in a good way. Sometimes it's a twist and it's a totally different ending in a bad way. That leaves us with a bad feeling, not humorous, and so we don't necessarily like that. But plot twists and unexpected twists and turns make great humor in communication. The second one is self-deprecating humor, and that's probably the most common form, or one of the, not the most common, but one of the most common forms and uses of humor when we tell a story or we show that we're vulnerable in a humorous way. Words and puns are the third type of humor that's really, really popular. I talked about this a lot in the past as part of this group, Supersize Your Business. I shared literally thousands, maybe thousands, but over 1,000 idioms, what they mean, where they come from, and how you can use them to grow and build and supersize your business. Because I know the power of words and the twists of words and gaining understanding in our communication through humor is a powerful way to do that. A lot of jingles and marketing are punny or funny. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. We have to always keep in mind the audience and the person that we're speaking to, whether it's going to work or offend, right? I guess people that you offend remember you too, but that's not necessarily the way we want to be remembered. Fourth type of humor is exaggeration for effect. I've told you a million times that I don't exaggerate, or I've told you a million times, and I might be guilty of this with my granddaughters. I told you a million times. I've told you 5 times. I've asked you 10 times. Maybe I've only asked them twice, but or I'll say I've asked you a million times to put away your laundry or throw your dirty clothes downstairs, whatever. But that's exaggeration for effect. Also very popular in the news media. I guess I was going to say marketing, but now that I think about it, exaggeration for effect and outright lying is really popular in the mainstream media these days. So I don't think they mean it to be comedy, but many of us watching know that it's just a farce and comedy. Number 5 is observational humor. This is humor that is really relatable because it's things that we observe in our everyday lives. And people can really relate to things that they see all the time. The way certain people behave, the way certain groups behave. And again, there is no shortage of humor on social media right now. And I guess it's been that way always, but, or not always, but for a long time, there's been a lot of humor, and it goes both ways, right? To whatever you believe or don't believe. Sometimes something that I don't agree with at all is just so freaking funny. You have to like it because you're like, that is so outrageous and so ridiculous that it's funny. Number 6 is callbacks to previous conversations. This happens a lot when we're building relationships with people, or speakers use it a lot too. They'll mention something early on in their speech, and then they'll refer back to it in a humorous way as they go throughout the rest of their speech. It's a way to build momentum. It's a way to connect the dots through, I call it and I learned this from Barry Baumgartner, is the through line. And I knew about it before Barry, but she's the best one I know at describing it. So they actually have a through line and a journey that they're taking people through in their speaking. And we should do that, by the way, in all of our presentations, whether it's to your board of directors, to your department heads, to your organization, to a nonprofit organization. We ought to have a reason and a message that we're sharing. And one of the ways to keep pulling that message through the through line is by using humor. Sarcasm, used lightly. Now this one I might use a little too much because I tend to be a little sarcastic. I come from a punny and sarcastic family. My mother's father, my grandfather, was the most witty, punny, quiet man I've ever met. But when he would say something, everybody would just break out laughing because it was so wise and so humorous and punny. It was just amazing. But sarcasm is one of those things we can use, but it has the great potential of offending people. So we need to use it a little bit wisely, right? You know, people use sarcasm when they're describing situations. Oh yeah, I just love being on hold for 3 hours to talk to my internet service provider or whatever. Yeah, it's a blast. Well, that's sarcastic. Probably not very many people are going to be offended by that, but some people will, because there's some people we can offend without even trying all of the time. 8, pop culture references. References to things that are popular today, popular in our culture. Television shows, popular movies, references to them can be very powerful and relatable to people, and that's a powerful way to use humor and to pull different things into the hooks that we're using to get people's attention. Number 9, playing with social norms. Social norms are the way people behave all the time. If you walk around with your phone in your face, people are tripping on curbs because they can't see past their telephone screen. Okay, you could go really dark with this. I was just thinking, somebody falls off a curb and gets hit by a dump truck because they're watching their phone. That's not funny at all. But who hasn't had that dump truck dream where you're just falling asleep and you fall off the curb and you wake up as a dump truck flies by and just barely misses you? I don't know what that means. I'm sure it means something, but it's kind of humorous in a cartoon-like way, not in a real way. And 10 is personalized humor, meaning tailoring the humor to the person or the group that you're speaking with. We had a lot of humor in one of my jobs in our department head meetings because everybody was good-natured and humorous, fun-loving. We loved and cared about one another, and we took care of each other in the organization, which opened us up to be vulnerable and use humor in ways that was tailored and specific to the individual and to the person at the time. And so it's a very powerful, very relatable way to use humor. And the more you know the person that you're interacting with, the more powerful and the more apt you are to use that, because you can use humor in a way that is engaging and builds on the relationship, doesn't destroy the relationship. So I love to know, do you use humor in your communication in your organization to grow and build and supersize your business? It is a shortcut way to garner people's attention and get them to pay attention to you and what it is that you have to share. And it's one of those things that I don't think I use enough, and I'm going to learn and practice on, and I encourage you to do the same. That's it. I'd love to hear your take on this particular topic of communication and humor. Share in the comments below so we can learn from one another. And I will, of course, be with you tomorrow with another communication topic to help us grow and build and supersize our businesses. Have an awesome day.